Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to talk about the mini Arius from Koenig knives. So, as you guys know, the Koenig Arius is one of the most popular pocket knives in the community, I would say. In the higher end of pocket knives, I would say it's definitely one of, if not the most popular knife, and that's for good reason. It was one of the first, and still really is, one of the only just amazingly CNC precision machined pocket knives that came out. It's not a custom knife. It's more what you'd call a small batch CNC custom is what I like to call them. Think Oz Roosevelt, what Grimsmo does, and I feel like Koenig really started that category. As far as I know, I wasn't around back then, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Grimsmo was around first, but that's kind of the category we're looking at, right? And there's not many people in that space. Craig Brown, I would say, is in that space. I'm sure I'm going to miss people. But yeah, I immediately think of Grimsmo, Craig Brown, Oz, and Koenig when I think of that category of knives. Trevor Berger is another one I think of. So I'm sure there's more, and I know there's more, and I'm missing stuff. But anyway, you get the point. And I just think it's a really cool segment of the market. It's probably my favorite USA made segment. Because the budget stuff tends to not be that good. Not even budget, like under 300 American made tends to not be that great in my opinion. And then the custom end of things, which is more handmade or mixed, tends to not be as precisely made, which is, I think, what really draws me to this category is USA makers striving for that perfection of a CNC knife. SPK falls in there too. Steingraber Performance Knives for sure. So I just love that, the level of precision on this. And the reason why is because this outclasses 99% of Chinese-made knives. And I absolutely love Chinese-made knives. I'm a big fan of Chinese-made knives. I'll pull one of my own designs out, the Stout V2. This is done by Best Tech for us. And the quality and craftsmanship that you get from China is really, really good if you pay for it, right? This knife is not inexpensive for a Chinese-made knife. I'd say it's, about mid-range. There are, like, custom knife factory and stuff like that. There's really expensive ones. But, retail price on this is $375. It's in Van X Super Clean, which is pretty sick. Belt satin, hollow ground. You have titanium with milling, titanium pivot collars, fat carbon inlays, all titanium hardware. You have amazing action. And you have Van X Super Clean. You have a milled pocket clip. Well, it comes with both. So, anyway, you can get some really, really precise, well-made CNC stuff from China. But even this, right, and even stuff like the X-Mid made by Best Tech for Richard Rogers, CKF Custom Knife Factory, Davlis here, amazing knife, right? The closest you're going to get in China, I think, to this is a Sharp by Design where he sends that CAD file over there and it's as detailed as you can get, right? He doesn't leave room for interpretation. That's the thing, right? So what he sends over there is a really, really dialed in CAD file, much like what they're using, right? So this is probably the closest you're going to get, but it's still not quite to the level of a Koenig. There's just something here. As much as I'm not the biggest fan of this design, I cannot fault the craftsmanship. That's kind of, you know, what I'm getting at there. I was thinking we'd take this apart and take a look inside. I figured some people might want to see a disassembly on the mini Arius. Steve gave me permission to take apart anything, so, you know, it's his fault. He's letting me do it. But look at the action on this. You know, I'm not going to make that better or anything. I just want to see inside and show you, you know, how good they are. Because this thing should come apart and go back together, no problem. And then still do that and be dead centered and all that good stuff. And then we can kind of wrap it up with my thoughts on this knife in particular. So I'm going to grab my driver set here. This tray, this insert, not the driver. And then I have a couple other trays that sit in here. They are made by Sky Raider Knives out of Arizona. I have a link in the description of every video. I'll try to link it at the top in this one. I have an affiliate link now, actually. Made in the United States. This tray is made out of 6061 aircraft grade aluminum. Has really nice rubber feet. These awesome leather, or you can get neoprene. There's one other option, some kind of carbon fiber inlay. And it's just excellently made. It's not cheap. I think they're like 130 bucks for the tray alone. And then you got to buy this part separate and everything. But, you know, you get what you pay for. And that's kind of the same story here, which is why I wanted to mention it. I'm going to grab a T8 because I think that's what we're rocking with here. Yep. So let's see if he Loctited it. Looks like somebody did. But that's no big deal. We can do that again. Or just tighten it and then let it loosen out. But actually, I'm not seeing really any Loctite on there. Clean it off, see if we get anything. Maybe a little. Maybe there's some Loctite on there. I don't know. Grab a little alcohol. It's always fun doing late night disassemblies, which is, it's late night right now for me. So I'm going to use, man, you see the tooling on that? That's what I'm talking about right there. That is the precision I'm talking about. Look at that. That bit is not coming off, dude. I have to yank that off. Compare that to the screw on this, where I have to pray to God that my T10 doesn't slip out of there because it's literally made to slip out. Jack Wolf is the same way. Now, that's not a China thing. That's just a design thing. But anyway, I just wanted to say that's fucking awesome. All right. We have a body screw. I'm going to check and see if these are like the same or whatever. There we go. Didn't want to jump in. Man, the tooling is so good. So those are the same screws, so I don't have to worry about anything. Now the knife will jump out of my hands and fall apart. So in here we are rocking bearings from, I believe these are from a tie connector. Don't think they make their own bearings, but it is very possible that they do. Actually, these do look a little different. So these might be proprietary bearings. And you're going to be looking at a beautiful piece of, I'm assuming is M390, 20 CV on this one. You have a detent ramp. I don't love detent ramps. We can talk about that. Press fit stop pin in the blade there. You do, by the way, have a hollow ground. And then you have what is sort of like a blast and stonewash or something. It's not quite a, I don't know what you would call it, a frost finish sort of. It's really nice the way they do it. You got a lot of details going on the spine there. And then in here we have really nice milling patterns to give you weight relief, also look cool. You know, there's just some dust and stuff like that in here. Nothing crazy. Here's your pivot, which is captive. Also a nice touch. You have that little shape there that it seats into. Just going to clean everything out while I'm here. Take the pivot and just Clean the inside, get whatever out of there. Your back spacer is mounted on, so your screws are actually mounting into the back spacer, which to me is nice because it's not free floating, so it's really locking everything down. I like that. Not a big fan of the lanyard hole on this. And if you didn't know, there is a see-through portion on the clip right here, and that sees through right here to this, so you can see that this is Mini Arius Generation 1 Batch 1. So this is one of the first Mini Arii, or whatever we're calling them. We have, what do we have? Steel washer? Is that a steel washer that's somehow, wow. Looks like we have a steel washer. No. That is a titanium. This is running on titanium. Or it's somehow non-magnetic, but I think they mill this out of titanium and then polish that to be the bearing. Interesting. And they're still running ceramic. Okay. I'd have to double check and see if that really is titanium and not steel, but it doesn't come out. It's not something you can replace the washer, which is interesting. If I remember in the past when I did this, they were replaceable, but I don't know. I could be wrong. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of KPL Heavy and just put a tiny little dot on the detent track. Literally, that was it. And take a little Q-tip, clean out the detent hole, which is pass-through, my favorite kind, which we need to start implementing on our own design. So I got that, got this. I'm going to put the pivot back in. So you can see it has a specific orientation it needs to line up on, which is cool. Pop that in. And this is one piece, at least, or it's really well fit on there, so you don't have to worry about that side loosening, which is important to me. You just got to turn this the right way so it pops in, and now you have a captive pivot, which is awesome. I'm also going to go ahead and clean this stop pin track. If you notice, it has something pretty cool. It has divots. The stop pin has those divots, and it actually seats in to those little pockets. It must be like an extra little, I don't know, maybe that's an extra way to make sure the detent seats right and you don't have any detent play or something. I'm going to use the, actually I'm going to clean these first. I'm going to use the donut oil from the crispy donut community. Almost lost one of those bearings. So they sent me this donut oil. It's basically just blueberry flavored, or I should say scented oil. I would put skiffs in here, but I'm going to go ahead and just, I don't think it needs skiffs. It's got its own thing going on. I'm not going to mess with that. Drop that on. Get this one in. Now, you could run this dry because you have ceramic bearings and you have a plastic cage. So you don't need the oil for the cage to not cause issues. But I like to put a little oil on it. Thing. Spray my hands in. All right. And then we have, the stop pin in operation, which is what I was trying to test there. And then, so we can close it, basically, is what I'm saying. I prefer, if I can, to close the knife versus have it open when I reassemble. Not that I always remember, but I try. Man, the tooling is just so good. So I'm going to start with the back screw there, and then this screw here. There we go. knife is reassembled, and we're gonna see if she just goes back together like I think, or if we're gonna have any issues here. So first off, centering is off, but I did not tighten this down all the way. Now it is tight. We are perfectly dead nut centered. We will double check our body screws, nice and tight. Nice and tight. These are not on a barrel, so I shouldn't need to do that, but I did. You could check our detent. Also nice and tight. That's your insert screw. All right. Feels great. Let's see. No play. No rock of any kind. And moment of truth. They're just that good. They're just that good. I mean, I have that as tight as it'll go. Well, I mean, I didn't crazy tighten it down, but there's no play in that, and it's just slinging. Sucks it in. Yeah, I get it. I really do. Now that I just took it apart, like just appreciating the craftsmanship. And if you're right-handed, amazing. If they ever make lefties, I will be all in. I promise. But, you know, as a lefty, it's just difficult to want to love this. The flipper's great, but, you know, I gotta I just can't even reverse flick it, I don't think. Yeah. I can't get in a spot. It just doesn't work. So, I don't want to only have one method of operation, flipper only on this kind of knife. Man, it rings too. This thing is sick. So if you're right-handed, I totally get it. It also feels more comfortable to me, right-handed, flicking this. You kind of side flick it versus the traditional where I try to do this move. That's kind of my traditional flick. But that doesn't really feel right on this knife. The side flick feels amazing on it. But left-handed, I can't do anything. So it just, you know, to me it's not... It just doesn't feel as amazing as it does to you guys that are right-handed. So just want to put that out there. But anyway, great knife. Size comparison. We can real quick do the sizes. We're at 7 1/4 inches overall. We're at 2.9, maybe right at 3 inches on the blade. Here's the CKS dabless. Try to do pivot to pivot. It's hard because I can't see the pivot. Dabless is slightly bigger. Oops. The Paramore from Pena is going to be probably a little smaller. Yep. A little bit smaller. This should be dead on. X-Mid. Yeah. Pretty much dead on. So if you have a Richard Rogers X-Mid, anything else I have here? There's a Vosteed Nightshade. That might be a little bigger. Yeah, a little bigger. So anyway, you get the idea. So there it is. Koenig Arius, Mini Arius, sorry. Disassembly, reassembly, and just a discussion on the Mini. I love it. You know, the more I've handled it here, the more I appreciate it. That's really, you know, I just said I love it after everything I said earlier. It's just, the more you handle it, the more you appreciate the quality. It doesn't have, I've handled probably 5 or 6, maybe 8 Arii of whatever kind. And they never have the little silly issues. They never have detent lash. They never have side-to-side blade play or lock rock. They never have pivot lash side-to-side, in and out. You know, they never have any of those little quirks that bug the shit out of me on knives. Why? Because they are CNC perfected. This is the epitome of CNC work. It's just Grimsmo's there as well, I would say. Those two are really at the top of the list when it comes to that CNC just precision perfection, you know. I haven't handled an Oz in a while, but there's some things I could nitpick at on the ones I've had. Fantastic knives. Not saying they're not, but this is just like dialed in, man, and it should be. This knife has been around. Okay, it's the mini, but the Arius has been around for what, 7 years or something like that, and they've literally basically just made that model. I think they made the mini Goblin for a little while. So they've been making this model for 7 or 8 years straight. It should be dialed in, but it really is. So there you go. Thank you to my buddy Steve for letting me check this out. Appreciate you, dude. Shout out to Koenig Knives. Check them out. I'll link them down below. And if I can find these in stock, which I won't, I'll link that as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you have one of these? Do you love it? Do you want a flipper delete? Do you want a lefty? If we can get enough lefties shouting, maybe they'll do a small run. I would buy one immediately if they did a mini lefty. That's the problem, though. If they do a lefty run, you know what? It's going to be the full size, and then I'm going to just not be able to, I'll buy it, but then I'll sell it because it'll be too big. Gotta do the mini. So, anyway, love you guys. Hope you have a fantastic day, and I will catch you later.